Have you ever found yourself musing over the question, what is the correct way for a Christian to give? Is it through tithing, as explicitly instructed in the Old Testament, or is it instead a deeper matter of the heart, as suggested in the New Testament? Today we delve deeper into this fascinating topic. The Old Testament presents tithing as a commandment directly from God. It mandates that 1/10 of your income should be gifted to the church. This directive finds its basis in Leviticus 27:30. Another significant reference from the Old Testament is Malachi 3:10. In this verse, God commands Israel to bring the entire tithe into the storehouse. This scripture also promises blessings for those who tithe. From this perspective, tithing is seen as a universal principle of giving that applies to everyone, including Christians. On the other side of the spectrum, the New Testament introduces an entirely new angle on this subject. Through Jesus' sacrifice, Christians are granted freedom from the Mosaic law, as narrated in Romans 7:6. In this testament, tithing isn't seen as obligatory, but rather, giving is encouraged to be done cheerfully and willingly. A significant verse that encapsulates this viewpoint is 2 Corinthians 9:7. Here, Paul encourages believers to give what they have decided in their heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God cherishes a cheerful giver. Supporters of this perspective also often cite Acts 20:35, where Jesus emphasizes assisting the needy rather than a precise quantifiable amount of giving. The commonality between these two viewpoints lies in the spirit of generosity. However, the method of expressing this giving varies significantly. In the Old Testament's perspective, generosity is quantified and specific. In stark contrast, the New Testament's view sees it as qualitative and driven by personal conviction. So what's the definitive message from this theological exploration? Primarily, the Old Testament lays significant emphasis on tithing as a commandment, requiring 1/10 of your income to be given to the church. This view sees tithing as a universal principle giving, a belief that is underscored in Deuteronomy 14:22-29, where the Israelites are commanded to be sure to set aside 1/10 of all that your fields produce each year. Consequently, it can be said that the Old Testament defines generosity in precise terms. Secondly, the New Testament carries a unique perspective, suggesting that Christians are free from the strictures of the Mosaic law, and that giving should be done cheerfully, free of Acts 20:35, becomes a guiding principle here where Paul reminds the Ephesian elders that it is more to give than to receive. This perspective pivots on aiding the needy without prescribing a fixed amount. Thus, the New Testament leaves it to individual discretion, focusing on the spirit rather than the letter of giving. In conclusion, both viewpoints underscore the importance of generosity. But it becomes clear then that the approach too is a personal decision, based on one's study of Scripture and prayer. Therefore, as we traverse through our Christian pilgrimage, let each of us seek wisdom and discernment in our giving, whether it be through tithing or other forms of generosity. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Closer to God channel, where we continue to explore faith, Scripture, and the Christian life. Voiceover. Before we wrap up, let's delve into some fascinating facts related to tithing in Christianity. Did you know that the word tithe literally means 10th in Hebrew? Yes, it's derived from the Hebrew word mazer or asar, which means 10th. Moreover, tithing was not just a religious practice, but also a legal obligation in some societies. In fact, during the Middle Ages in Europe, tithing was required by law, and failing to tithe could have severe consequences. Some of the earliest records of tithing come from the ancient Near East, predating the Old Testament. This practice was common in civilizations such as ancient Mesopotamia, where people would give 1/10 of their earnings or harvest to the local temple. These facts shed more light on the historical and cultural context of tithing, enriching our understanding of this practice. So, the next time you hear about tithing, you'll not only understand its biblical significance but also its historical roots and cultural implications.